Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am Abe with MysticGenMara.com and today is another book review. Since we're kind of moving into the barbecue, outdoorsy cooking thing, I kind of thought, at least when this video is recorded anyway, it would be a good idea to maybe touch on some of the foods that we can use and a resource for figuring out which foods are good. Just because when you're out camping and you're wanting to help set your intentions, why not include the food into your intention setting? This book will be a good resource around the holidays too, because there's an entire section in here about peace, harmony, and happiness. So adding a couple extra seasonings and a little visualization, especially around that time, is probably not a bad idea. But the book is called Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Wicca in the Kitchen. There you go. And this book is still in print. I had this particular copy for a lot of years. I think I got mine in 2004 or 5, and it's still in print now. And there's a link in the description. I'm not affiliated, just letting you guys know the information. And what I have found with anything that Scott Cunningham has done, especially with his encyclopedia series, there's multiple books, is he deep dives into what his own path has been, what the legends and lore about it have been, about different items. He even will tell you in another book that I'll review later that these are included because of a historical reference, and he will tell you straight up these are poisonous and he can't figure out why they used them in the first place. And he won't give you any ways to use them, just what the original purposes were. But like with this book, as you can tell, I've used a lot of it because it's very dog-eared. Not dog-eared. I would be shot for that. It is very tagged up because I do appreciate it. But like this first section is all about the original Sabbats, or the like Midsummer, Yule, Samhain, Beltane, and there's different types of celebrations in here that you can use with different types of food and what would be traditionally served at those times. It goes through and does things like each grain has their own section that show up, can't see, and then it has like a fruits and vegetables section, one specifically for cooking spices and cooking herbs. So there's and it goes through and tells you like allspice is good for when you're setting intentions for money or for healing. So those are the type of things that you can look for in there. There's a section on drinks, both alcoholic, non-alcoholic, things you can make at home, things that you buy out of the store, and how to basically set your intentions into them. And even though the book is called Wicca in the Kitchen, the overall theory or belief that I hold with a lot of this is I use Crowley's, Aleister Crowley, his belief of what the term Wicca, magic, and the rest of it really is it's creating change in accordance to your will. And when you're setting an intention, you are setting up the energy to change in accordance to your will. You can call it the secret of manifestation, the law of attraction, however you want to term it. But that's the reason that I use a lot of these books, is because that's how I view that term. Wicca is a religious belief, but it's not really it's not abrasive by any stretch. And the way he talks about it in his work is it's very gentle, very caring, and you can almost integrate it into any other belief system. So it's not like it's some woo-woo, scary out there, doing scary things under the moonlight. That's not how he projects it. It's actually way more simple, like drinking your morning coffee and setting your intention to be energized, alert, and ready for the day, and bringing in that abundance, things like that. Setting the intention into your coffee and then drinking it, then you're really imbuing, or however you wish to bring it in, the intention into your system. There's an entire section on love. There is a very interesting section he does on health and healing, and it's mainly because he brings up that nutritionists tend to be the people that are the most ignored, especially in the West. They're becoming better. Mind you, this book was originally written in like the early 90s, so it's been republished multiple times since he's passed away. But his big thing was a lot of nutritionists back in the day were focused on one type of food to cure one type of symptom. And his theory is, why not use all of the different foods that fit into that system to heal the overall body, the mindset, the energy bodies. And so he goes through it's not comprehensive by any stretch, but he gives you directions you can turn. And then there's this beautiful section on peace and happiness. And that's the one that, like I said, when I do a lot of family get-togethers, I tend to turn to this section pretty heavily. But it's things like marjoram is one of the good herbs that you can use for helping to calm an environment and bring peace. Cucumbers, olives, oddly enough, are good for that. And then there's different fruits you can go with, like peaches or raspberries. Cheese pizza, oddly enough, just seasoned with oregano, is one that if you're one of those people that has little ones especially and they're only eating cheese pizza, it's a good way to help bring in that more happy and peaceful environment. But like chocolate, and he even gives, and this is something I do appreciate about how he writes, is this is what works and this is what you probably should avoid if you're looking for peace and harmony. And he does this with every section, so it's not just with this one, but it's like, don't drink or don't eat heavier foods, especially red meat if you're looking for peace and harmony, because it tends to amp people up. And things like spicy foods and salt are another one that he said, like, if you're looking for peace and harmony, avoid those. And like I said, the beauty of what he does is he doesn't just give you one side of it. He lets you look at both sides, and you can make the decision yourself. And the funny part is, in the very beginning, in the intro, he talks about spirituality and vegetarianism or veganism, and he's not pro or against it. He never went full vegan that I've ever read about, but he did do vegetarian for quite a while. The difference with vegetarianism versus carnivores is when you go strict vegetarian, as much as you're eating earth-based products, it triggers a disconnect where you actually start to disconnect from Gaia herself. You become so up in your upper chakras, and this is the reason that a lot of vegetarians that I know tend to get really flighty in their thinking patterns. And that's not good, or I'm not saying that's bad or good or anything else, just an observation I've made. And he describes it as, you basically, when you go strict vegetarian to the point of vegan, you actually start to open up energy centers that you may not consciously be ready to open. He describes an experience where he had, because his were opening up so rapidly, that he started seeing things that he was not ready for, and it really did shake him. He did eat ethically, very organic, if it was preferably not slaughterhouse food, which I can't argue with, because you're bringing in a lot of negative energy when it's like that. My personal opinion is, if you can raise it and do the rendering yourself, that would be a more preferred way, because while you're doing it, you can work with the spiritual energy and kind of negate the negativity, because you're doing it to feed your family. And when you deal with stuff that you buy from the store, and not everyone can do that, I understand, but when you're dealing with things you buy from the store, and he talks about this in here as well, you bring home the energy of the fear, of the misery, of the cramped conditions, of the overall just energetic not goodness. You bring it home when you go to the store and buy it that way. And he talks about in here, and he talks about it in some of his other books, there's a huge disconnect that we have acquired over the years, that because we don't know where our food comes from, we're out of the circle of life, that we inadvertently, totally accidental, bring that negative energy of fear and sorrow and uncomfortableness into our homes and into our bodies when we eat that type of food. Again, I do it too, but that's why he talks about blessing your food before you eat it, to help process a lot of that negative energy out. And you can bless it through saying prayers, holding your hands over it, setting your intentions into it while you're preparing it. Things like that are all ways to help clear up that negative energy. And he, like I said, he won't go through exact details. His belief system was, you need to figure it out. I will give you the tools, and it's for you to really take the next step. Like, here's the tools, use them. And that's how I have used a lot of his work, and it has been super helpful to me over my life. And at the end of this book, in this edition anyway, he includes several recipes. There's a fairly large section, as a matter of fact, of things that he has used for different purposes. There's like magical herb toast, which is pretty simple, but roasting your jack-o'-lantern seeds, and it's your intention setting into that. There's even drinks for different Sabbats, the holidays in here as well. Mulled wine is one that I personally really do enjoy. He does desserts and what they're for, like Flaming Love is a good one for those protection needs, but it's also good for romance and finances. So if you need something to fan your flames, there's a recipe for that in here. And then he does some main dish stuff, and he's not opposed to eating meat, and he talks about doing it ethically. Like, if you're going to do it, do organic, do free ranging, things like that. And in today's world, it's a little bit more expensive. But the other part is, if you find a rancher that you know and who's willing to work with you, getting it directly from the source is another way to avoid a lot of that negative energy. But he even has some soups in here, like this one is money soup, where you actually use a piece of silver in the actual process to really imbue that magical money energy into it. But then there's indexes and things like that in the back. But I highly recommend this if you're wanting to if you're looking for ways to really add your intentions into your life, this is the best way that I found to do it. And when you're adding them in, like if you're at family get-togethers, don't set your intention to step across the line and really interfere with someone else's free will. But the way I do it, not just the way I would do it, but the way I do it is I will take the whatever product it is, if it's a plant, if it's a herb, if it's a fruit or vegetable, and I'll set it in my non-dominant hand, so for me it'd be my left hand, and I'll put my dominant hand, my right hand, on top of it, and I'll set the intention that this will bring, let's say, peace and harmony. So this will bring peace and harmony to anyone who ingests it and is willing to accept the energy for their highest good, for the harmony of the group, so mote it be, or amen, or however you choose to end it. And then visualize, let's say it's at Thanksgiving and everyone's sitting around and they're having like the mashed potatoes that you had set your intention for this piece, and everyone's having some and they're laughing and everyone's happy and there's no real conflict, but put the image in here while you're charging the food. But do it in a way that it does not violate anyone else's free will, because that gets into some really ethical stuff you don't want to play with. But when you're just setting the intentions for the positive uplifting of everybody involved to their highest good, as much as they're willing to basically accept it at their highest self, then it negates a lot of that. And then if their higher self says, no, we don't want that, then they won't accept it. So, but it's a really fun book. It's a really good, useful book if you are wanting to expand how you bring your intentions into a more physical aspect versus having like a vision board or just journaling, which are great tools, don't get me wrong, but this is a way to make it into every aspect of your life. Like I said, with your coffee in the morning, with your breakfast, with your lunch, with your afternoon tea, if you happen to have an alcoholic beverage in the evening, this has all of the different points and tips you can add just to help bring yourself into a higher alignment. And the whole purpose of all of this type of work of setting intentions is to help exceed and move you forward in your spiritual journey. And so that is what I was bringing this book up for. And like I said, with barbecue and camping season and all the fun stuff outdoors, this is just kind of a good, take it with you and kind of glance through it and just get some ideas if you want, or look through it. And I don't know if they have a digital copy on the website, but it is linked in the description below, and that is the actual publishing house. And Carl Llewellyn was actually a very amazing man when he was alive, and he wanted to help people expand their knowledge, and this was how he was doing it, was through publication of other authors. And so supporting small businesses, you can find it on Amazon and stuff like that, but I purposely link it in his description, in the Llewellyn description, because I would rather support individual publishers than some of the bigger agencies. That's my opinion. So if you get the chance, find it, glance through it. It's an amazing resource, and I will talk to you guys at a later date. Have a good day.